We're here to put up guardrails to direct them and to help them understand the value of the things we're asking them to buy. As a travel manager, you have to do your best to give the flexibility in the system so they won't go out of it. So that may be having difficult conversations with your leadership about who's really allowed to do what, and then speaking that into your policy. We really took a look at our population and said, who are we allowing to do what, and how can we allow it with guardrails? And then for everyone else, how do we explain to them that in order to keep the business healthy, these are the restrictions and flexibility. We have to give some, but not all.
We try not to let them book outside of the system. And a huge part of that is to the safety part. We are heavily educating all our travelers to understand that safety is the number one priority for us.
Similar to MENA, safety is our number one factor, right? The way I view it is within that framework of travel management, you've got to give people some freedom. I always talk about freedom within a framework, whether that's the hotel program, whether that's the airline choices they've got, whether that's the payment systems that we use, so that they've no excuse really to go outside because they've got lots of different options within the managed framework.
We need to trust our employees as well, but ensure that we have a travel policy in place that protects them. But we don't like to make it too restricted, because the thing is, especially within Atkins Realis, it's an extremely competitive market. If you've got a lot of people who are travelling and we're really, really restrictive, they'll just move on to a competitor.
Actually, I'd say the big piece is around communication. So NDC is a really good one, right? What I would like to see and hear talked about is how people have overcome this challenge from a communication perspective, rather than always relying on technology to fix a problem. The technology isn't going to fix it. The supply chain needs to go and fix that. To me, what I'd like to see from a travel manager perspective is how we can improve our communication up, down, left, right within the organisation to control that conversation. Now, the way I've gone about it is to weight my travel policy all around safety and security. It enables us to weight everything towards that and less about the cost, albeit cost is incredibly important. And if you can wait and frame the conversation with your leadership on those odd occasions where people are saying, I can find it $100 cheaper online or $200 cheaper online, the safety and well-being of your employees will always outweigh that small cost.
Definitely, there's definitely a tension from what travelers expect to what the travel providers or the suppliers are currently providing. It's quite important that from the get-go, the travel experience is quite seamless. And this is where AI kind of dives in and provides that sort of personalization for a traveler. The system starts to know what behavioral patterns or preferences a traveler would go in and book. And where that helps us is understanding the travel behavior. So the data that comes with that and how we can sort of push cost savings. The other part is the self-service. And I think that's very important.
Within our policy, it's about entitlement. However, we have ways and means around deviation processes to allow people to book business class if the executive allows them to do that. And a lot of it is down to the fact that, for example, with Atkins Realis, we're going to lots and lots of different places in the world. You're being told by a client in Saudi Arabia that you need to fly on Sunday to get to a meeting on Monday at 9 o'clock. So at the end of the day, they want to be there, they want to be refreshed. So the way the business sees it, if there is a particular requirement because of that, they'll look at it.
Our policy is best available economy class for everyone except for the extended leadership team, which is premium economy. I think a lot of questions do come up in the sense, I've had to be on a flight for 32 or 33 hours. Australia is quite far for international trips, and they can stay a night before they get to the next day and have to be at a factory or whatever it is on site, but it's not sufficient to get them up and running, in my opinion. And I've had a lot of can we raise this? Can we do this? What would it take for us to travel business class, and a lot has to drive from the cost. So yes, there is a lot of noise around it, and they feel like, well, if we're all traveling in economy, then everybody, including the leadership team, should be doing the same.
Where we go is where we go. So we tend to know how much things cost. So we tend to have more visibility on everybody can be equal, just don't exceed this amount because that's not fair to the company. Where I want my vendors to get more supportive is understanding that we want options for that business class fare and that we want more seats in those buckets where maybe they're non-refundable, but they're half as much. I don't think we should be gouging and price gouging for business class tickets.
So I think when you look at the disparity cost between a premium economy ticket and a business class ticket, those deltas are getting wider and wider and wider, no doubt, due to another topic we'll talk about, which will be AI and machine learning. But the revenue management systems get more sophisticated. If the demand is there, then obviously the prices are going to go up. So I think the first thing we need to do is to reframe the question a little bit, rather than it being about the cost, more about the value. So what's the value to us as a business? And before we start looking at cost, I find it a bit of an ugly word, really, because it's the one thing everybody wants to cut, whereas value is the one thing that everybody wants to extend or improve. So I think if we can reframe it as value,